After Diana died, Queen Elizabeth shed no tears, because for her, Diana was never a true Windsor. The war between these two women didn't end even after Diana's death. In 1981, when 20-year-old Diana Spencer walked through the doors of Buckingham Palace, she was greeted only by protocol and coldness. Queen Elizabeth had maintained her distance from her daughter-in-law from the moment they first met. This wasn't just the formal manner of British nobility. This was a conscious stance against Diana. Queen Elizabeth was 55 years old at the time and had been on the throne for 29 years. Protecting the monarchy was more important to her than anything else. Diana seemed young, spontaneous, and uncontrollable. For the Queen, Diana posed a threat to the carefully protected royal system. Queen Elizabeth's attitude became clear at Diana's first royal engagement. At the end of 1981, at an event organized for young people, Diana spoke intimately with children and played with them. While the media applauded this behavior, the Queen didn't hide her displeasure. Lady Susan Hussey, a close friend of the Queen, remembered that day. Her Majesty's facial expression was icy. She found Diana's behavior contrary to protocol. She muttered, "Princesses don't play games with children." After this incident, the Queen said Diana needed to be given protocol lessons, but these lessons weren't education, they were attempts to control Diana. The Queen saw Diana's natural compassion and sincerity as flaws. During Diana's pregnancy, the Queen's attitude became even harsher. While Diana complained of morning sickness, the Queen's reaction was, "Royal women don't complain." Diana's emotional needs were unimportant to the Queen. When William was born in 1982, Queen Elizabeth didn't show her love for her grandson to Diana. When she held William, she didn't even look at Diana, as if the child belonged not to Diana, but only to the royal family. Diana felt this coldness. She had told Paul Burrell, "The Queen never shows me any warmth. It's as if I'm invisible. When she comes to see William, she doesn't even make eye contact with me." The Queen's biggest problem with Diana was the princess's popularity in the media. Wherever Diana went, she was photographed and madly loved by the people. This situation bothered the Queen, who had been met with respect for years, but not with love. The 1983 Australia-New Zealand tour brought this tension to its peak. During Diana and Charles's joint tour, crowds only wanted to see Diana. People running past Charles to Diana disrupted royal protocol. After this tour, the Queen gave Charles an important warning. A palace official admitted years later that he heard this conversation. The Queen told Charles, "Control your wife." She said Diana's popularity was dangerous.
The most effective weapon the Queen used against Diana was excluding her from family gatherings. During weekend meetings at Windsor Castle, she treated Diana coldly and didn't include her in conversations. Diana felt like a stranger at these gatherings. Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister, described this situation. Elizabeth never saw Diana as a family member. For her, Diana was just Charles's wife, the mother of their heirs, nothing more. Even when Harry was born in 1984, the Queen's attitude toward Diana didn't change. The birth of the second grandson should have strengthened Diana's position in the royal family, but the Queen began to behave even more distantly. When Diana's bulimia emerged, the Queen's reaction wasn't understanding at all. She saw the eating disorder as weakness. She thought, she needs to pull herself together. She didn't want to understand that Diana needed psychological help. Dr. Maurice Lipsage, the psychiatrist who treated Diana, described the Queen's attitude. The royal family didn't want to accept Diana's illness. Especially the Queen was afraid this situation would create scandal. Queen Elizabeth was also uncomfortable with Diana's relationship with the media. Diana spoke to the press and gave interviews. This was contrary to royal tradition. For the Queen, the media was a tool to be controlled, not a platform to make friends. Diana's visit to AIDS patients in 1985 increased the tension between her and the Queen. AIDS was taboo at that time, and royal members stayed away from such topics. Diana touching sick people without gloves angered the Queen greatly. Lord Mountbatten's former wife remembered the Queen's reaction during that period. Elizabeth found Diana's involvement with AIDS patients scandalous. She said, "Royal members cannot engage in such risky behavior." But Diana's behavior was applauded worldwide. Instead of celebrating Diana's success, the Queen tried to control her more tightly. She wanted Diana's program schedule to be approved before she went out. When Diana's relationship with James Hewitt emerged in 1987, the Queen's attitude toward Diana completely changed. She was no longer just cold, but hostile. She saw Diana as someone who had tainted the family's honor. During this period, the Queen began to restrict Diana's royal duties. Not being invited to important events meant weakening Diana's position in the monarchy. The Queen was punishing Diana. When Charles and Diana's marriage problems deepened, the Queen's preference was clear. She supported her son and blamed Diana. She didn't even want to listen to Diana's complaints against Charles. Lady Elsa Boker, Diana's friend, described the Queen's attitude during this period. The Queen saw Diana's marriage problems as her personality defect. She ignored Charles's relationship with Camilla. In the 1990s, when Diana's media popularity was at its peak, the Queen launched her own image campaign. In a BBC documentary, she portrayed a cold but dignified monarchy image. Against Diana's emotional approach, the Queen had her traditional and reliable stance. The Queen's media advisors developed strategies against Diana's every move. When Diana visited AIDS patients, the Queen supported traditional charities. When Diana played with children, the Queen organized formal state ceremonies. In this media war, the Queen used her own stable and predictable image against Diana's spontaneous and emotional approach. After each of Diana's statements, the Queen's circle delivered the message of continuity of the monarchy. When Andrew Morton's book, Diana, Her True Story, came out in 1992, the Queen's anger toward Diana peaked. When it was understood that Diana had contributed to the book, the Queen perceived this as a direct attack on herself. The Queen stopped talking to Diana during that period. Palace staff felt the icy atmosphere between the two women. The Queen began to use the term "that woman" when referring to Diana. Diana's withdrawal from royal duties in 1993 was the result the Queen wanted. Although it was presented as Diana's own decision, it was actually a decision made as a result of the Queen's pressure. The Queen thought Diana was harming the monarchy. During Diana's withdrawal speech, the Queen's facial expression was blank. While Diana made an emotional speech, the Queen showed no empathy, as if she had gotten rid of an unwanted problem. Diana's BBC Panorama interview in 1995 was the climax of the war between the Queen and Diana. Diana had accused Charles and indirectly the royal family with her phrase, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." The Queen's reaction to this interview was harsh and quick. She demanded Diana divorce immediately. She no longer wanted Diana in the royal family and wanted to exclude her completely. Robert Fellows, the Queen's private secretary, describes the Queen's state of mind during that period. Her Majesty had become unforgiving toward Diana. She thought she had betrayed the monarchy. When the divorce was finalized in 1996, the Queen dealt her final blow to Diana. She took away Diana's Her Royal Highness title. Diana was no longer a member of the royal family. This loss of title greatly upset Diana.
She had told Paul Burrell, "The Queen completely rejected me. While Diana had to address her children as Your Majesty, the Queen treated her as an ordinary person." In the last years of Diana's life, the Queen never spoke to her. She ignored Diana at family gatherings. Despite being William and Harry's mother, Diana didn't exist for the Queen. When Diana died on August 31, 1997, the Queen's first reaction was protocol-focused. She was more concerned about the impact of this situation on the monarchy than Diana's death. Robin Janvrin, the Queen's private secretary, described the situation that morning. Her Majesty saw Diana's death as a crisis management issue. She showed no emotion. The Queen didn't want to attend Diana's funeral. She only agreed under pressure from Charles and the public. Even Diana's death didn't change the Queen's coldness toward her. While Diana's coffin lay in Westminster Abbey, there was no emotion on the Queen's face. She didn't shed tears or even bow her head. For the Queen, Diana's death was more the end of a problem than a loss. After the funeral, the Queen refused to talk about Diana. Diana's name was taboo in the palace, as if she had never existed. Tony Blair, the Prime Minister at the time, described the Queen's post-Diana attitude. Even after Diana's death, the Queen didn't want to accept her. She was worried about public reaction during that period. As William and Harry grew up, the Queen didn't talk to them about Diana. She didn't want her grandsons to mention their mother. Even Diana's legacy was disturbing for the Queen. Charles's marriage to Camilla in 2005 was the Queen's victory over Diana. Camilla was now officially a member of the royal family. Camilla had replaced Diana. Queen Elizabeth's war against Diana didn't end even with death. She tried to erase Diana's memory. Diana's name wasn't mentioned at royal family events. Even in 2007, on the 10th anniversary of Diana's death, the Queen didn't make an official statement. She didn't even observe a moment of silence in Diana's memory. This silence was a sign that the war against Diana continued. When William got married, the Queen objected to giving Diana's ring to Kate. She didn't want Diana's memory to be kept alive, but William insisted and put his mother's ring on his wife's finger. Queen Elizabeth's war against Diana was a clash of two different royal visions. While the Queen defended the traditional, distant monarchy, Diana wanted a closer, more human royalty. Even 20 years after Diana's death, the Queen rarely spoke about her. While Diana's legacy was kept alive by the people, the royal family tried to forget her. In 2017, on the 20th anniversary of Diana's death, the Queen didn't attend the memorial event organized by William and Harry. This was the final proof that the war against Diana was still ongoing. When Queen Elizabeth died in 2022, she left without making peace with Diana. She didn't forgive Diana for 25 years. This war wasn't just between two women, but between two royal understandings. The war Diana won continued to live in the hearts of the people. The Queen tried to erase Diana institutionally, but Diana's legacy emerged stronger than the Queen. Today, William and Harry keep their mother's legacy alive. Diana's compassionate royal vision left the Queen's cold protocol behind. Queen Elizabeth's war against Diana will be remembered in history as a power struggle, but Diana won this war even after her death, because love is always stronger than protocol.